Hello. So I just decided to make a not so much an unboxing video as a check-in video. Okay. When I order stuff, packing slip comes out. I check it against what I ordered. Make sure everything's here that I've ordered. Okay. Comes with ring instructions, decals, all sorts of special stuff. The other thing it comes with, piston rings, buttons I've ordered, okay? I order 10 pistons at a time, okay? Very rarely do I order, and I've already pulled one out just to make sure. I very rarely order 8 pistons, especially with a nitrous engine. Stuff's too hard to come by in race season. When you do tune-ups on, especially with this nitrous engine, when you do tune-ups on this stuff, you have variables, and a lot of times you could damage one piston, and it could be the skirt, it could be, you pick it, all right, whatever reason. Could be the carburetor too lean, nitrous, almost always it's the nitrous. So I order 10 pistons so I have spares. Too hard to get in race season, too busy. It's cheaper and easier in the long run to have 2 spares. Customer's only going to take 8 pistons. If he wants the other 2 now, he can certainly buy them. If not, I put them on the shelf as spares. I got a whole shelves. I got boxes and boxes of spares. It's helped me out several times. Even to this day, I have saved myself a lot of time waiting on pistons because I understand how busy they are. Okay. It's also going to come with the card for the piston. I'll double check all this stuff. Diamond builds such nice stuff. Even when I built with CHEVY, but Diamond builds some terrific stuff here. You're never going to have a problem with any of it. Okay. Also bought rods. I'll show you them next, and wrist pins. Dome 13-to-1. All the edges are radius. There's not a rough edge on this. I'll put it in, check it for piston to valve. Maybe I'll touch the intake pocket a little bit here to help flame travel. But I'll be honest with you, this is the nicest piston you're ever going to buy, especially for what we're doing here. This is a competition engine. It's not a professional engine. That's the difference. Everything I'm going to do to this thing, the guy's going to be thrilled with. Okay, we had to put a rod in it and put a piston in it and move everything down. Okay, I went to 100 short a rod because I didn't have the right ring stack for nitrous. Now because I've shortened it up 100 and I moved the wrist pin down and I put a button in it, I can at this point move the whole ring stack down. If you look, you can see it. The oil ring, by the time I put the button in, will probably be virtually halfway through the wrist pin, which gives it much more strength. The next thing I'm checking for, I like horizontal gas ports. I learned this from the cup guys. The piston guys turned this on to me. I can't even tell you how many years ago. Okay? Much better, much stronger. It saves the deck of the piston. Okay? Dome is thicker to handle more nitrous. 990 pin. Look on the inside. It's been clearanced for the connecting rod. Pockets lightened. Dome is thicker. A little bit of CNC here down the bottom to clean it all. It makes it a little lighter. I was more interested in having the deck of the piston and the dome be thick enough to take anything that I want to throw at it. Back years ago, we took a piston that was similar to this, skimmed the top down in a fly cutter, less to add clearance, more to drop the compression a little bit. And one of the first ones I did not realize I made the dome so thin that as soon as we stood on it with the nitrous, it literally just shoved the dome straight in. So I don't make that mistake anymore, okay? I will go over all this stuff again and measure everything, but that's only because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's my job as a builder, okay? Rings I won't check now. I'll check them for size. Buttons. Lightened. Button's going to go in. Like I did on my other video, you can see it's that easy. No spiral locks, no nothing. I change the piston, pin comes in and out. Oh, the other thing I did on the ring stack on the top, it's 170 back cut. In other words, it doesn't go so deep also, which also makes this valve pocket stronger, okay? I didn't go in the full 210, I only went in 100, I had them go in 170, which makes it stronger. Wrist pin. Let's grab a wrist pin. Again, buttons for maybe the people that didn't see my other video. That goes in, this goes in. Button goes in. Button goes in, takes the full size. Much more, I like this better, much more strength for the ring support. I don't have the steel in here, so it's a little less expansion, a little more thermally stable. For this guy, does it matter? Maybe, maybe not. I just like to do it. The other thing is too, now if I have to service it for whatever reason, it comes right apart. Naturally, the connecting rod would be in the middle, but comes right apart. Why is that important? I never have any grooves. If you put spiral locks in here to take them in and out, invariably you mark it up a little bit. It's almost impossible not to mark it. Yeah, you could hone it, but now I don't have to hone it. Naturally, it's full of oil. It's going to fall apart even easier at that point. Okay? I'll double check all those. I'll recount all my buttons to make sure all my buttons are there. I usually buy 20 buttons. Again, I buy extra buttons because if something happens, you lose one, you step on it, you do something silly, so I buy extra buttons. Just makes sense. Connecting rods. MGPs. Probably the finest rod you could buy. Some people argue GRP is. The funny part is, I used to buy GRP rods back when I met Michael Giannone in, oh gosh, it's got to be 85, 86. I met him at the trade show in Cincinnati. Very brilliant guy. Taught me everything I need to know about connecting rods. GRP was Giannone Racing Products. He sold that company. Had a non-compete clause for I think 5 years. Opened up again, MGPs, Michael Giannone Products. He's gone, he's passed away. Brilliant guy. Taught me virtually everything I know about these things. I had run a bunch of billet rods before. I didn't understand what I was doing. Naturally, I understood sizes and shapes, but I didn't understand materials and finish and bolts. And this rod, 990 pin, standard big block journal. These holes are not rib cut, they're circular cuts. So when the rod goes up, it's not, there's no edges on it to create any stress lines. That's why this rod is so shiny. It's all polished, so there's no stress lines. Okay? Stress lines lead to failure. Yes, this thing is crank cut or cam cut because this is where the counterweight would clip the rod as it goes around, so I don't have to do that anymore. That's built into the rod. This is the Sportsman rod. This is the 6100 rod. There's the job number. There's the length. This rod here will take up to about 2,000 horsepower. 7/16 rod bolt. These are 2000 series. You'll never, ever, ever have a problem with these. Okay? So you need more power. More power. Most of the guys are running right now probably the 6500 series rod. Half-inch rod bolt. Hemi pin. This one is only a 990 pin. A lot of them are on the Hemi pin, which I think is a, you know, I shouldn't say, I'm not sure, but the Hemi pin that I had run was an inch 034, so it was a much bigger, much heavier pin. That was the only thing that would take tons of nitrous and live. Other than that, the pins would start to bend. Dowel pin, naturally is already installed. Cut for extra oil, 2 extra oiling holes, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's grooved on the ID of where the wrist pin goes for extra oiling. Again, there's another little cut right there. I don't know if you could see it. That cut is to clear the counterweight on the crankshaft. These are offset. I think I offset these things 50. Why do you offset? Well, you offset them because what happens is the piston winds up just offset a little bit on the rod. And what you're trying to do is when the piston comes in, if you offset it, you're going to wind up squaring the piston up to this and to the bore. And what that does is it puts you in a better position to keep the ring package square. You don't want it to turn on any orbit. I mean, that's exaggerated, but if the pin is moving at all or it's offset, you get cocking and you lose ring seal. You don't lose all of it, you lose percentages of it, but the more cylinder pressure you make, the more you lose, okay? So that's important when you want to square up the rod. I think these were 50, some of them I've done 100, all right? I have to check the paperwork. Once again, when I get to it, I'll go through all my paperwork. Again, they have all their own paperwork. It has all the specs, all the torque specs in it. You'll just never have any problems. What's nice about all this stuff is I'm going to wind up rechecking everything. And the real nice stuff about this is I'm not going to have to do anything to it. Because I had them do the gas ports, I know it's done right. Because I had them pin fitted, I know it's done right. Because it's done here, you know, as far as pockets and milling it's done, I know it's done right. What I've learned, especially with pistons, it's easier for me to let them do it. Not that I can't do it. They will do a better job because that is what they do. For what they charge me, in the long run, it's going to be cheaper than me doing it myself. I look at it as I'm hiring a guy to do the job, and he's brought his own equipment, and now I'm ready to install these things minus whatever little tweaks I do to them because of fit up that I don't have to worry about it. And I know this is 100% right to what I ordered. And again, I'm going to check it, but I know it's right. Okay? And if anything was to happen on machining him, he'll number one be responsible for it, but number two, if there's a problem with the forging, he's going to know right away. He's going to see the problem. He's going to fix it right there. I'm not going to have to worry about it. It's all about strength, and I've learned over the years, you can't do everything yourself. You have to. Sometimes it's cheap money to contract a guy to do a job that he's very good at. These guys are very good at pistons. That's my job number on it. So if I have to reorder it, it's going to match my piston card. Okay. I'll wind up at this point when I go to balance them. I'll put what this is in here. I'll put the bore, the stroke, you know, all the information I need, the balance job, and why. Let's say for some reason we're racing and we're out in the field. Now this is just out in the field, in other words, at the racetrack. And I burn 3 pistons. I have 10. I'm missing 1. So if I'm at the track and I'm meatballing, okay, and I just want to race, because now here you all, let's say you're in Texas or Kentucky, you're racing, you're not around your house, okay? So you can't get back to other stuff. If somebody's got a spare piston, that's the right bore, that's the right length, okay, close to the same piston weight, close to the same dome or no dome, I got something I can work with. I can race and still be at the track and get it finished. There's many times I've been at the track where I've taken pistons and it's always the same case. You always seems to be short one. Borrow a piston, and everything was so close I could get away with it. It's not perfect. That one cylinder in particular for me, on 706s, I had been running 100,000 pop-up, okay? And I had been moving some things around and changing the flame. I burned, at that point I destroyed 4 pistons. I had 3. I needed to borrow 1. I wound up getting a flat top that was off by about 5 or 6 grams, but everything else was the same. Put it in, ran it, and that's what I did. Okay? It's not perfect. That cylinder itself is going to be down a little bit, but I'm 300-400 miles away from home. So what do? Do you load up and go home, or do you go put the piston in and race? I wound up racing. Okay? Again, it's going to be off a little bit, but there comes a point where you have to do what you have to do at the racetrack. You can't just throw in the towel, 300-400 miles away because you don't have a piston and you don't feel like taking a little compression out of it to go make a run. As long as everything is within reason and close, you can get away with a little bit as far as pistons and weights. And no, it's not perfect, but you're racing, and you're going to race. That's all you're going to do. When you come home, you're going to pull it all apart anyway. You're going to wind up honing it, re-ringing it, and fixing it. It didn't burn the piston. What it did with those, especially those were 18-degree heads, it would take this area right here. They were all thin right here because they all got pushed. That's competition stuff. It would lift this up. I had boxes, and I got a whole bunch of them that are all welded together over there as a floor mat because I burned so many of them. But everybody does. And it's not that you burned it, you lifted it. It's called lifting a ring lamp. Nice to have real good stuff. I will double check all this stuff. This was just to show you that you got to check all your stuff. If you buy from good guys, you'll never have a problem. Diamond pistons, trend push rods, trend wrist pins, trend buttons, all terrific stuff. Diamond sells these pistons under their name. It's actually a total seal piston. A total seal ring, rather, I'm sorry. Terrific stuff. I'll be able to make plenty of horsepower with these things. I won't even approach what this stuff will handle. 615 on 1, because that's what the rules were for this. With 24-degree head, you're probably going to make 1,700 horsepower if you stand on it. The engine itself, a 615 with a single 4-barrel, usually you make with a 24-degree head if it's right. You're probably going to make 1,060, 1,070 if you're good. If it's a little bit less, you make 1,040. Okay. The limitation is the head and really the exhaust port on these. Okay. Other than that, this was just a check-in video and to explain some of the things that I've had on some of the other videos about wrist pins, buttons, pistons, weights. All that stuff is very important because it's all on this card. Anything I want to know is right on this card. Everything I'm going to check upon is right on this card. It's going to tell me everything I need to know. But again, that's if you're not sure of what you're buying, or you're buying from somebody that isn't as thorough as Diamond is. If you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comments section. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Thank you so much. Take care.